Wednesday, the 27th, for people to have their 2022 taxes paid. And they need to be paid by next Wednesday if we want to avoid having their name published. So things are picking up a little bit this week. We'll be busy. Winter tax bills, the 2024 winter tax bills will go out the 1st of December, so you'll all be getting those. And they're due February 14th to avoid any late fees or interest. So 'tis the season, starting all over again. And then also December 1st, dog licenses go on sale. So through our office, of course, $10 if spayed or neutered, $30 if not. Those prices have stayed the same. And I guess that's about all I've got. After February 28th, those two double. They're considered late, so we double after that.
Anything for Julie from anyone? No? All right, thank you.
Sure, thank you.
All right, our first agenda item, I would entertain a motion to approve the Shiawassee County Board of Commissioners budget resolution for fiscal year 2025, and this will be the first reading.
So moved.
Support. Moved and supported.
So, as you know, you have a completed budget in front of you that is balanced to zero. So what that means is that our revenue matches our expenditures. So the total budget for the county is $87 million in revenue and 88,000 in expenditures, 88 million in expenditures. And I'll talk about why that is in just a second. Essentially, we have a couple of departments, the road commission, medical care facility, that are using a little bit of their fund balance for some additional projects that they have going on. The only ones that are not component units that are using a little bit of their fund balance is MSU Extension and the Health Department. But for the most part, our entire budget for the general fund is 21 million, and that balances to expenditures. If you look at last year, we took in 5.4 mils. With the Headley reduction, it went down to 5.38 mils, which means that even though taxable value went up, it remained relatively flat overall. So our taxable value, by the time you add all that in, went up about, our budget from last year, this year, the general fund went up about $315,000. And I want to do a special thank you to Tracy and Stephanie and Casey and Morgan for meeting with Greg and Cindy and myself and all of the department chairs to make another balanced budget for this year. We have anticipated a 2% COLA increase.
Any questions on the budget so far, thus far?
Do we follow the federal COLA, like whatever that comes out as, is it, or do we
No,
try to just pick?
we kind of looked, so the state went with 5%. There's no way we could get to 5% because of the tightness of our budget. But with the wage adjustments that happened last year, several of them went up more than normal. So 2% is about where we landed. Keep in mind, I did ask the departments to make a 5% cut in their overall budget, which they did, which allowed us to do the 2% COLA. Because our healthcare costs have gone up slightly, our vision and dental have gone down slightly, not to the amount that the healthcare went up, the regular medical coverage went up. So that's kind of how we do it, is we look at what are the excess revenues once we do some expenditures to kind of determine what, if any, COLA we can do. And for the last several years, we have been able to give a COLA adjustment every year. Previous years, we have not been able to do that. There was a time for almost 10 years in a row that the county was not able to give a COLA adjustment. So 2% is where we are this year.
Dr. Boggs, and that also applies to elected officials other than those of us sitting here, correct?
That is correct. Yeah, all of them move with it as part of the pay scale. It doesn't apply to the Board of Commissioners, but it applies to clerk, the treasurer, the prosecutor, etc.
Anything else on the budget? We do have Tracy. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed the same, and that moves to Wednesday. I would look for a motion to accept the tentative wage reopener agreement between AFSCME and Shiawassee County for
Okay.
fiscal year 2025 and authorize the chair to execute the final agreement.
Moved.
Support. Moved and supported.
So as part of our union negotiations this year, they had a wage reopener after meeting with the union and discussing where the budget is and everything that we have. We offered them 2% plus their signing bonus, which would be paid out of this year's budget, and then 2% would begin next year, and they accepted our offer. And that was what we proposed, and that's what they accepted. They didn't have an open contract, just a wage reopener.
All right, any questions on that? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. And that brings us to our next.
Madam Chair, if I may,
Yes.
I may interrupt. I just wanted to mention for everybody, on Wednesday, plan to stay a little bit of extra time after the meeting. We are going to have a closed session, and we are going to do an informal evaluation of our county coordinator. It won't be one of these things where we fill out a bunch of questions, so we're going to have a discussion, and it will be somewhat free-form, in that we talk about strengths, weaknesses, and so on. So that will be in a closed session after Wednesday at the end. I shouldn't, it's part of the session, but it will not, you know how that works.
Yep.
So everybody, if you could have, think about that, and we'll do that on Wednesday and see how it goes.
All right, thank you. Anything else for the Finance Committee? We are adjourned. Thank you.
You want to call for the public?
What's the second?
Meeting order. Please stand and rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, that brings us to our first call to the public. Hearing none, we'll move on to community development reports with Mr. Pete Preston.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We had 29 zoning permits and 23 building permits. Surprisingly, though, we had 5 new homes started in October in the county. So a little bit of an uptick from the 3 or 4 that we typically get per month. Of course, it slides a little bit in the winter for breaking ground. Forgive my attire, been out in the field. We're closing out the equalization session and getting our study ready for December 1st deadline. Other things going on, we do have a rather large mining operation in Woodhull Township that'll be on the agenda for the Planning Commission next week. It is going surprisingly well at the township level and with public comment. That was the original location for Proline, which the county did eventually have a consent agreement with for that facility to be built. So that'll be on next week's agenda. I also plan on handing to the Planning Commission an application for a planned unit development for the Shiawassee Speedway next week. So we've been working with the engineers for probably the last 2 weeks, finalizing some documents. So they're going to provide us essentially a mini zoning ordinance, zoning district for just the Shiawassee Speedway area. So we'll be handing that over to the Planning Commission and looking to either schedule a public hearing in December or in January. So that's all I have right now.
Yeah, I was surprised about the gravel pit. They approved that.
Just the Planning Commission and the Township Board did move on that. And I know that in the previous mining operations, it's been a little slower paced. But I think they've known about this for quite a while. There was some delays getting it out of our office, some delays from the applicant providing us the necessary plans and such. So I think we had more time to chew on it than just the 50 days that we normally have.
Yeah, I can't believe it. They ran everything over there, so I was surprised.
Yeah.
That's good.
It is.
Moving forward.
Okay, thank you. All right, next, moving into our agenda items, I'd look for a motion to approve William Washer as the appointed surveyor and grant administrator of the state remonumentation program for the county and enter into an independent contractor agreement for financial year 2025 and authorize the board chair to execute the same.
Support, or so moved.
I'll support.
All right, discussion.
So this one's a little more complicated. So William Washer has been the surveyor for a long time. He opted not to run again because he is moving. No one ran to fill the vacancy. You do have to be a certified surveyor to be on the ballot to run. This happens quite a bit because there's not a lot of certified surveyors. So there's a provision in the law that allows us to contract with him as the appointed surveyor if no one runs. He has agreed that he still wants to do it even though he won't be living in the county boundaries anymore. And so he came in, he discussed this with Chairman Brodeur and myself, and he would like to continue doing the survey work. He is about 90% finished with the remonumentation grant from the state.
We are fortunate that he agreed to do that.
Yeah.
We don't really care where he lives, but and he's going to do that work for us, and we won't have to scramble to find a new person.
Yeah, the law makes provisions for us to use a firm or other things like that, and a firm would be much more expensive than, and they have to start all over from updating themselves with the project.
Yeah, he's been doing it for years anyway, ever since I can remember. So.
Yeah, long time.
We want to do just 1 year at a time?
Yeah, the grant's 1 year at a time,
Okay.
and I think we should stick with the
That's
grant
fine.
cycle.
Yeah.
Just so in events something happens with state funding, it's all lines up.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I guess I wondered, since he isn't going to be a resident, presumably he's moving, I mean, they usually associate, they want a resident of the town surveyor, but we're satisfied that he will still be sufficiently responsive to.
Okay. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of moving this to Wednesday, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Excellent. That moves on. All right, next. I'll look for a motion to approve the appointment of Tom Emery to the ZBA effective January 1st, 2025.
So moved.
Support.
All right,
Not him.
discussion.
We have a vacancy, we'll have 2 vacancies on the ZBA. Right now, we have one from someone that resigned. The second one will be Josh Haley, because the ZBA is a quasi-judicial board. A commissioner cannot serve on it. So effective January 1st, Commissioner Emery will be eligible to serve on the ZBA to fill the appointment of part of the vacancy that's been created. There'll be another one coming in December.
Okay, further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of moving this to Wednesday, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. That'll be on Wednesday's agenda. That brings us to our second call to the public. Hearing none, meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.